Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Florencio Ramirez. Ramirez was shot and killed on Saturday, August 19, 2017, in the 1400 block of East 77th Street in the Florence-Firestone neighborhood of South LA, according to LA County coroner records. Brandon Weiss, Shawn Ray, and Jaylen Godbolt were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. The fusillade of gunfire that killed victim Florencio Ramirez and nearly produced 4 more murders took place against the backdrop of long-standing hostile tensions between 7-6 East Coast Crips and Florencia-13, a Hispanic gang, on turf that was disputed between these two warring factions. Defendants were all members of the East Coast Crips, the 7-6 East Coast Crips being a subset neighborhood gang of the East Coast Crips. The shooting took place on August 19, 2017, shortly after midnight on 77th Street near Parmalee Avenue. A group of 5 on 4 bikes were proceeding south on Parmalee and turned on 77th Street. They had been at the home of Nancy Orozco and victim Florencio Ramirez and were on their way to another friend's house. Orozco and the victim were on one bike. They were in the lead, followed by Manuel Jose Jimenez, Maria Alvarez, and Stephanie Gastello. After a short exchange with a person in a white Cherokee, Gastello saw a black Honda with its bottom lights lit on 77th Street. As Gastello looked back, she saw the person in the back left come out of the Honda halfway and start shooting. The shots were aimed at Gastello. She jumped off her bike after the first 5 shots and got between 2 cars. She felt she had been hit. The Honda moved up and got closer to Gastello and 2 more shots were fired. Gastello was hit in her buttocks and 2 more shots skinned her left elbow and left ribcage. Alvarez saw 3 people in the Honda shooting. They were the driver, the rear passenger, and the front passenger who was firing out of the window and over the hood of the car. They were shooting in Gastello and Alvarez's direction. Alvarez saw Jimenez run off on foot. Once the shooters stopped firing at Gastello, they started shooting at the victim and Orozco, who were trying to hide behind the car. Orozco heard 4 or 5 shots, and then Gastello was yelling that they were shooting. Orozco was shot in her left buttock, and she and the victim fell off the bike. The victim said he had been shot and he appeared to be in pain. The victim died as a result of a single gunshot that entered his back. He had F-13 tattooed on his body and was a member of Florencia-13. Among other objects, 4 9mm casings were found at the scene of the shooting by a forensic specialist. Defendant Ray was arrested the same day on August 19, 2017, when he was spotted standing by the stolen Honda. A 9mm gun was found in the car. The 4 9mm casings recovered from the scene of the shooting were fired from this gun. Detective Dean Camarillo of the LA County Sheriff's Department was assigned to investigate the victim's murder. Camarillo arrived at the scene of the shooting in the early morning hours of August 19, 2017, and oversaw the collection of evidence. He later learned that defendant Ray and Weiss lived near each other, close to the site of the shooting, and that there was a connection between the 2 men. He also learned that defendant Weiss was in county jail. He decided to proceed with what he called a Perkins operation on defendant Weiss. Defendant Weiss's questioning was conducted on January 8, 2018 at the downtown county jail facility in Los Angeles. Detective Camarillo testified that he gave the confidential informant who was placed in the cell with defendant Weiss very little information. This was because he didn't want the informant to feed defendant Weiss any information. I wanted to come from the target or from myself during the interview. Detective Camarillo explained how the topic of the August 19, 2017 shooting was race with defendant Weiss. After a short while, when Weiss was in the cell with the informant, Camarillo pulled Weiss from the jail cell, interviewed him about my current investigation, and then placed him back in. So under this type of setting, it's not so much what they tell me. I'm more interested in what they go back in the cell and tell the undercover. Upon his return to the cell, defendant Weiss told the informant that the police were talking about a shooting. Weiss said they had showed him pictures of a car. The informant told Weiss, "You gotta clear me up so I can help you. Somebody's telling on you." Defendant Weiss said that one of the cars was stolen and the other was defendant Ray's. The informant again said that somebody was snitching and described how the snitch would talk. The 2 men then talked about the man with the car, defendant Ray. Defendant Weiss identified defendant Ray as the person with the car. He said a female was in the front seat, she was Ray's girl, and she was in jail. The informant asked if there were 2 of them in the back seat and asked what happened to defendant Weiss' burner. Weiss said it jammed. Weiss said the other person was Jaylen, defendant Godbolt. The female's name was Sierra. The informant went into a tirade about snitching. Some conversation took place that is hard to follow, but which led to defendant Weiss to say, "I was in the back seat." Defendant Godbolt was questioned on January 12, 2018. Detective Camarillo used 2 undercover agents, but otherwise used the same tactic of removing defendant Godbolt at one point from the cell with the informants, questioning him, and then returning him to the cell. Defendant Godbolt reappeared, and one of the informants asked if he was alright. Godbolt said yes, he was straight. The informant asked if they were snitching, and Godbolt said yes. People were saying my name is in it. Godbolt said he was told his DNA was found. The informant asked who had been shot, and Godbolt said it was the Florence. The informant asked, "Do you got a feeling on which one is the snitch?" And Godbolt said yes. Defendant Godbolt said the murder was 5 months ago. He confirmed defendant Ray was there also. Godbolt said, all 4 of us. The girl was with us in that car. The informant asked, "All 4 of you are up in here?" Godbolt said yes. The informant asked what kind of gun defendant Godbolt was shooting. Godbolt said it was a Glock 17, but he threw it away. The informant asked how many people had gotten shot. Godbolt replied that somebody died. He went on to say, "I hit somebody for sure. I hit somebody for sure that night." The informant said, "Damn." Godbolt said, "I think 1 person died." Defendant Godbolt said that it was more than 1 gunshot when we all was in that car because we all had a burner. Everybody had a pistol. Godbolt volunteered the fact that defendant Weiss's gun jammed. Godbolt said the girl was driving. That girl was driving. Me and Cuz, we were hanging out the window. We all hanging out the window. Defendant Ray was questioned on January 17, 2018. In the course of the questioning outside the cell, Ray was told that the police had his DNA in a stolen car and that a witness had stated that he committed the shooting. Back in the cell, defendant Ray told the informant that he was told that they had his DNA and that he would be charged. The police said they had talked to people in jail and on the outside, but the police said they couldn't tell him stuff if he didn't tell them stuff. The police said Ray was the last person they talked to. The informant told Ray that the police knew a lot more than they were telling him. The informant said that the man was snitching. That's why he was asking whom they were shooting. Ray said they were walking down the street and they didn't shoot back because they didn't have a chance. The informant told Ray that he would need to switch the story all the way up. The informant, "Listen, that's why I'm asking you how did it go down, so I could tell you how to switch it up. Ray, we just pulled up on them and started smacking on them and then drove off. They were on bikes. They was coming down the street and they hit the corner and we was going like this. I busted a U-turn and boom, got on them." The East Coast Crips is one of the largest African-American gangs in the country with around 1,000 members. Florence-Firestone, a predominantly Hispanic gang, has around 2,000 members and was the East Coast Crips' worst enemy. The war between these 2 gangs was particularly bloody and was considered one of the biggest gang wars in Los Angeles. Following the trial, all 3 defendants were found guilty of first-degree murder and 4 counts of attempted murder, including gun and gang enhancements. The court sentenced Jaylen Godbolt to 270 years to life. The court sentenced Shawn Ray to 270 years to life. The court sentenced Brandon Weiss to 210 years to life. Florencio Ramirez was 44 years old at the time of death.